I'm Ian, and this is Philip from Digiware Software, and today we'll be talking about the Legend of Zelda. Actually, this is an entire series overview of the Legend of Zelda, but today we'll just be focusing on the NES editions of the Legend of Zelda.
The original Legend of Zelda.
The original Legend of Zelda, the NES.
Alright, so...
the first topic is our first experiences with this game. Bill?
Yes, my first experience with this game was that I was very interested in getting into the series, so I figured I'd purchase this video game for my NES, since I figured I would start with the first game of the series.
My first experience would be that, actually this wasn't the first Zelda game I ever played. The first one I ever played was the Ocarina of Time. And we'll get to that one later, but because of that, I found out about this one and all the other ones. Actually, before I even played this, I played the Wind Waker, which we'll get into later. Yeah, that's my first experience. The name from The Legend of Zelda actually came from F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda. If you don't know who F. Scott Fitzgerald is, he wrote The Great Gatsby.
Alright, and this game was actually designed by the one and only Shigeru Miyamoto, who at the time was very popular with Nintendo. He created Donkey Kong and Mario, and this game was very revolutionary for its time. It was the first game to incorporate multiple screens and have kind of an RPG layout to it.
Zelda is actually known for evoking human emotions. Like, you care about the characters in this. You care about Link, you care about what happens to Zelda, and you want to hate Ganon for, kidnapping Zelda and all that. And so this game makes me feel like I'm actually accomplishing something that means something. Philip?
Right, just like Ian said, this game is known for evoking human emotions that are very realistic, and it was one of the first games that, rather than you wanting to beat it just to say that you beat it, you actually felt a connection to the game that, kind of made you want to beat it for more reasons than just bragging rights. So, in The Legend of Zelda, basically what happens as soon as you start the game, you are just left in a totally open world where you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You have to go explore and start your own adventure. So yeah, it's basically the classic example of a perfect adventure game. And as far as the characters go, as we said before, you feel a connection to the characters, and yeah.
The Zelda series is notorious for having a bunch of items. Like, in this, they have the sword, obviously, that you get from the old man in a cave. Actually, they have 3 swords in this. They have the Kokiri sword, or whatever it's called, the Master Sword, or the White Sword, and the Magical Sword. In this, they have a power bracelet that you can move rocks, which is very similar to the Goron's bracelet from the Ocarina of Time. They have a raft that you can swim out and get a heart piece, and that's actually how you get 2 heart pieces with that. You can get 2 heart pieces, and that's how you get into one dungeon. Obviously they have bows and arrows, and it's worth noting that you can actually get a lot of those items before you go in to the dungeons. And of course the raft and the bow and the boomerang are obviously all dungeon items. But besides that, you can get a bunch of rupees, a bunch of heart pieces before you go into the dungeons, and most notable, the blue ring, which basically changes your tunic and upgrades your armor. Now obviously this isn't like Final Fantasy, how you have to gain experience, but it just... You can stand more damage with the blue ring on, because it upgrades your tunic. Now there are 3 tunics in this game. There's one, the green, red, and then the blue one, obviously. But yeah, those are the items in the blue ring.
Now, every adventure game must have bosses, and certainly in The Legend of Zelda there's no shortage of them. In The Legend of Zelda, there's the final boss, Ganon, and unlike the N64 Ocarina of Time one, there's no Ganondorf. But Ganon is not very hard if you have the magical sword and the red tunic. All you have to do is really, he just appears out of nowhere and you swing wildly, and you're lucky if you hit him, and then you hit him with an arrow, then he dies, and then you go in, break down a barrier, get the piece of the Triforce, and then you get Zelda. And that's very straightforward and simple, and for most bosses that's how it is. Like, you fight dragons in it, and all you do is strike the heads. 3 heads, 2 heads for the first dragon, 3 heads when you experience further dragons. You just strike at their heads. And then there's like a spider, where you just strike it once with an arrow, and it's dead. And that's a late boss. That is. It's not very early in the game. That's after getting the blue ring, and the magical sword, and the arrows. But those are the bosses in the Legend of Zelda.
So basically what we're trying to say is that The Legend of Zelda for the NES is basically perfect in every way. And our next discussion will be about
Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.